Hello, this is Mr. Elrod from Atlanta, Georgia, and today we're going to be reviewing 4 easy tips on how to review for the AP exam. Now, really, these tips can be used for any high-stakes testing, but today we're going to be specifically referring to the AP exam. Now, these tips I've known have Hello, this is Mr. Elrod from Atlanta, Georgia, and today we're going to be reviewing 4 easy tips on how to review for the AP exam. Now, really, these tips can be used on any high-stakes testing, but specifically today we're going to refer to the AP exams. Now, these are tips that I've used during my academic career in college and in high school, and these are tips that I give to my students. And some of the things we're going to be referencing today are actually from a 2011 article in the Wall Street Journal by Sue Schellenberger, which I'll post the bibliographic information at the end of the PowerPoint. You can access that article if you would like. It just gives some scientific studies and explanations for why some of these things actually work. The first thing is obviously you want to make sure you get plenty of sleep on the days leading up to the test. But aside from that, one of the things the article references is studies that show that if you review the hardest testing material right before you go to bed, that actually helps you to remember the information better. What it does is as you're entering into your REM sleep and you're getting plenty of hours of sleep and you go through the several cycles of REM sleep, that actually helps to consolidate that information and move it from your working memory into your long-term memory store for those of you who are your psychology folks out there. Anyway, so obviously you want to make sure you're well rested. I discourage any of my students from pulling any all-night study sessions the night prior to the test. You want to make sure you're well rested so you can be sharp and focused and so that you can access the information that you've been studying and make sure your mind is not cloudy. Um, on that same note, I encourage my students not to participate in any last-minute cram sessions the day of the test. We want you to remain calm. Make sure you're not anxious. If you get anxious and excited, your adrenaline is pumping and actually makes you more nervous and takes a longer time to settle down and get focused on the test. So make sure that you are able to get yourself calm and enter the testing room in a calm manner. In fact, I encourage my students to just leave their testing materials at home on the day of the test so they're not actually encouraged to participate in any last-minute cram sessions. The next thing is going to be to, while you're studying, make sure you provide yourself a productive study environment. You want to make sure that you get rid of any external stimulus that might distract you while you're studying. Think of your brain as a computer processor, and that the more applications you have open, the slower the processor works, the less the processor is able to focus. So your brain works in a very similar fashion. So make sure you turn off any of those extra stimulus, especially electronic devices like any iPod or iPhone with your music, your text messages coming in on your phone, televisions, email, things like that. Some people like a little bit of white noise in the background. Just make sure that it's not music that's not too distracting, especially with lyrics and things like that. And sometimes students find that they would rather pick their music and they spend more time looking at their music and selecting a song. So if you're going to listen to music, just hit shuffle and go and make sure that you're studying. On that note, I always tell my students to make sure that you're only studying for about 50 minutes out of every hour. That you want to make sure you give yourself at least a 10-minute break. Now, what this does is it kind of creates a reward for you for being a diligent student, and you reward yourself by, with those 10 minutes, you take time to use the bathroom, get some water, check your text messages, your email, turn on the internet, and check your Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is that you want to look at. And so that way, maybe you're energized to move into the next 50-minute study session. In fact, I always encourage students to change topics or change subjects as they move into the next 50 minutes. It gets the brain to rewire and refocus on a new topic, and you're more likely to focus and remember that information moving forward. Another suggestion I actually give to students is that when you're studying, if you don't have to be on the internet, I encourage them to disable their internet on their devices so that way they're not even tempted to get on the internet, open a browser, things like that. So anything that you can do to discourage yourself from distractions is going to be a positive. Specifically from the article, and something that I found to be true over time, is that one of the best ways to study is just to quiz yourself. Find practice questions, whether it's on the internet, whether it's through AP study books that you might find in the bookstore, the Barron's book or the Princeton Review, just to name a few. Any of those review questions that you can find, go get your old tests or quizzes if your teacher will let you see them. Look at the answer keys and try to figure out which questions you got wrong, why you got them wrong. And don't just look at them, but look at the key terms, phrases, or concepts found in those questions, and then go back and look up those concepts or terms. That way you know specifically what areas you are deficient in and you need to spend the most time on. This will allow you to create an individualized review plan. Let you know that what areas you need to study on for yourself. Your friends might have another unit that they need to study on, but you personally need to study on a separate unit. So you need to know what that is so that you can shore up your areas of weaknesses. And of course, you don't want to spend too much time on the areas that you're already strong in. So spend that extra time on the areas you have the greatest amount of weakness in. And the last thing is to make sure that you are properly feeding yourself. I know it sounds kind of silly, but taking a test is actually like moving into an athletic event. You have to have the proper nutrients into your body. Your body has to be well rested and it has to be properly fed in order to perform well. Your brain is an organ, just like any other organ in your body, and it needs nutrients. So make sure that you're eating and you're feeding it so that it can stay focused and work at optimal performance. If you're not someone who normally eats breakfast, make sure you're eating breakfast on the day of the exam if you have a morning exam. The article actually suggests that you eat oatmeal for breakfast. Now, the thought there is that it's high in fiber, and so that will release slowly over time and give you a steady set of energy over the duration of the test. But really, any type of breakfast is going to be good if you don't normally eat breakfast. Now, what I would suggest is make sure you don't do anything out of the ordinary. Now, what I mean by that is if you don't normally drink coffee or you don't normally drink tea or energy drinks or something like that, don't make this the morning to start, because you'll just enter things into your body that you're not used to, and your body won't know how to handle it, and so you'll be going through your body will be going through some strange issues there, maybe a caffeine overload or sugar high or something like that, and then you'll end up crashing or not being able to focus during the test because you're too concerned about the weird feeling that you have. So make sure that you do things that are fairly normal for yourself on that particular morning. And on that note, if you have an afternoon exam after lunch, make sure that you, number one, eat lunch, but make sure that your lunch is a light lunch. Make sure you're not eating pizza or something with heavy sauces or heavy soups, things like that. Eat a light lunch, something maybe along the lines of a sandwich or a salad with some fruit and crackers and some water. That way it's not sitting too heavily on your stomach and you're not going to get drowsy during the exam, kind of like what happens after Thanksgiving dinner. So anyhow, these are just 4 basic things, and again, they are very basic study tips, but things that all students can use and utilize as they prepare for the AP exam. And here's the bibliographic information that I was mentioning earlier in the PowerPoint. Again, you can go access that article online, read about all the research and the data that is presented. It's really good stuff. But anyhow, I hope this helps, and good luck on your test.